J.J. Watt is one heck of a player. And like I said, he's so good that, I mean, obviously not every single team is going after him. Of course not.
No.
But he's one of those guys that can literally pick to go anywhere, just about, if he wished. Obviously, a lot of financial things to work out there. But either way, I personally, see J.J. Watt going to Arizona. It sounds like, this recruitment process by, DeAndre Hopkins seems, like a pretty serious deal.
And live from the WQAQ studio at Quinnipiac University, you're listening to Infinite Sports Radio on this Tuesday evening. I thank you for joining us. I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder along with Ben Upson. We got a lot to talk about today. And as you just heard from that clip that we just played from last week's show, my co-host here did in fact predict that J.J. Watt, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, has signed a 2-year, $31 million contract, $23 million guaranteed with the Arizona Cardinals. Now, what do we think? I think this is a good move for the Cardinals. But how much better does it make the Cardinals? And does this put them in the class with the Buccaneers, the Packers, the 49ers, the Seahawks? I don't really know. But I will throw it over to my co-host, Ben. How are you today?
Kenny, I'm doing great, man. It's the first couple days of March. College basketball's in full swing. J.J. Watt signed with the Cardinals. I called it. That was from our February 16th show 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it was 2 weeks ago. I thought it was last week.
I know, right? It feels like it was last week. But no, that was 2 weeks ago already.
Oh, okay.
But I'm feeling great, man. I can't believe I called that J.J. Watt trade. I figured when the news came out earlier that week, when DeAndre Hopkins was trying to bring him to Arizona, I was thinking that it could have been a possibility, and here we are. Do I think that J.J. Watt went there for the money? Yes, because Arizona, at least right now, is not a championship contending team. It doesn't appear like it, but I mean, good for him. Obviously, wherever he was going to end up going, he was going to end up somewhere. There were a ton of teams going after him. I personally thought, because over the weekend, we heard about some news with the Buffalo Bills, and that supposedly the list was being narrowed down, and they were one of the hot and heavy contenders for him. But clearly that was not the case. So J.J. Watt is an Arizona Cardinal. 2 years, $31 million. And he goes to a division that is very competitive, with a lot of great players, and he is a huge boost for what is a mediocre Cardinals defense right now. So I'm happy for JJ for his career. He's getting out of the mess in Houston. Thank goodness for that, because it's so hard to explain what that situation is. It's so bad. So bad. And Deshaun Watson also re-announcing to David Culley earlier this week that he's not playing another game down there either. So it's all a mess right now, but good for J.J. Watt, and be looking forward to seeing him go after Russell Wilson in the NFC West.
Yeah, definitely. And when you look at some of the pass rushers that they have in that, and not even just pass rushers, like you said, players, obviously the 49ers had a lot of injuries this past season, so they'll be getting Nick Bosa back. You look at the Rams with Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers, the Seahawks with acquiring Carlos Dunlap at the trade deadline. And then with J.J. Watt, you're now pairing him with Chandler Jones, who suffered a season-ending injury earlier in the season. So they did miss him for a bulk of their games in the second half of the year. I'm kind of just looking at the Cardinals' free agents, and there's a lot of guys that are going to be free agents with free agency looming in the next couple of weeks. And a lot of their guys are in the secondary. Patrick Peterson is a free agent. Jonathan Joseph is a free agent. Drake Kirkpatrick is a free agent. And Hassan Reddick, who I think had 12 and a half sacks this past season. So they're probably going to be looking to try to bring him back too. So if you do bring in J.J. Watt and you lose all these guys, your defense is going to suffer. Now, they did sign their safety, Budda Baker, to a huge contract, so he's locked up long-term. But the Cardinals, I think right now, are probably the worst team in the division. Now, normally when you say a team is the worst in the division, they're terrible. They're awful. But the Cardinals have been a lot better than in years past. It seems like they're on the come up. I think they're going to be a playoff team next year. I think that they suffered some key injuries. I think Kyler Murray got banged up towards the end of the year, and I think that kind of was one of the main reasons why they fell flat and missed the playoffs. I couldn't believe they lost the regular season game to the Rams. I thought that they would be able to beat the Rams in the regular season finale when John Wolford was starting, but their backup quarterback did not do the job, and Kyler Murray came back into the game and really couldn't do anything against that defense. And it was kind of disappointing because this team at one point was 5-2, and they just lost some stinkers. I mean, earlier in the year, they lost to the Panthers. They lost to the Lions. They lost to a banged-up 49ers team late in the season. That game was broadcast exclusively on Amazon Prime, which was a little annoying. But I think that this team could be a playoff team next year. I think that they're on the come-up, but I think the key for them is to bring back some of their free agents. Because if they lose guys like Kirkpatrick and Jonathan Joseph, who's up there in years, and Patrick Peterson, the secondary, depending on what they do, if they bring in guys that can replace them, and if they build through the draft, the defense is kind of going to be the same, if not a little bit worse, even with the addition of J.J. Watt. Now, I think pairing him with Chandler Jones, I think that's going to be a nightmare for any team that they play, any opposing offense that goes up against their defense, even if the secondary is a little inexperienced and underwhelming, to say the least. And especially because of what we've heard the last couple of weeks about Russell Wilson kind of voicing his displeasure and how the Seahawks have kind of not addressed the offensive line situation. Now, if you're Russell Wilson and you're going up against those two guys, I think you really got to start making some calls with the ownership group in Seattle and get yourself an offensive line that can protect you. Because if you're going up against those two guys, you're going to have to get rid of the ball pretty quickly. But you know what? I like the move. I think that it was for the money because he's getting $23 million guaranteed. And he did play all 16 games last season. Well, this past year. So maybe the injury bug is behind him. We hope for his sake. But he did go a couple years. There was that 3 or 4 years stretch where he just could not stay healthy. And, with back injuries and all that. And, you thought, is he going to ever be the same player? Now, obviously, he's not the same player that he was 6 or 7 years ago. But he could still be effective. And he's definitely made a couple of plays this past season where he, you're like, there's the J.J. Watt that we know, like the pick six in the Thanksgiving game against the Lions. He can still get after the quarterback, and I think that with pairing him with Chandler Jones, they're going to have to teams are going to have to double team one of them, and the other's going to flourish and get to the quarterback. At least that's what I think. So I think for JJ, the other thing is he's not going to be like the main guy. I think Chandler Jones is still going to be the main guy in terms of being the number one pass rusher. So I like the combination, and like I said, I do like the Cardinals going into next season. I do. I think that as long as they improve the defense and they rebuild that offensive line, I think the Cardinals can be a playoff team next year. But this division is loaded. I mean, we could see every team in the division make the playoffs next year. I mean, I only see one team coming out of the NFC East. I only see one team coming out of the NFC North as of right now, because it looks like I saw something yesterday. It looks like the Bears are gonna go into next season with not Mitchell Trubisky, with Nick Foles as their starting quarterback. The Lions are a mess. And the Vikings, they got to do some rebuilding on the defense. So I think that's the Packers division next year. And then in the South, I don't know what's going on with Drew Brees. A video of him working out surfaced and blew up all over the internet.
We haven't heard anything about him.
Yeah, and I think we did touch upon it a little bit last week, but who knows? Is Drew Brees going to come back? I have no idea. But right now, I would say that the Bucs are the best team in that division, and that's the team, and they're the favorites to win that division. I don't know what's going to happen with the Saints.
In some ways, I feel like Drew Brees doesn't want to end his career like he did against the Bucs.
Yeah.
You know, throwing 3 picks, and I'm pretty sure he threw under 200 yards in that game, or it might have been just over.
Yeah, something around there. Both quarterbacks in that game in the divisional round that you're talking about, Brady threw, I think, 199.
Yeah, and you look at the numbers, he didn't have a terrible season. Like, you know, it wasn't all that bad for a guy who's now 42 years old, and Drew Brees. He threw almost for 3,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 picks. His overall QB rating on the season was 106.4. So Drew Brees was still doing okay. It was pretty clear, though, that his deep ball ability is severely limited. It's practically almost gone because we saw in a lot of games this year, Kenny, that he was throwing a lot of checkdowns to Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas when he was healthy. He really can't throw beyond 20 yards anymore. And, that's what happens with aging, unless you're Tom Brady, who's defying those odds. But, overall, Drew Brees was not too bad. I hope, personally, that he comes back for one more year because we've said it a ton of times, Kenny, that these are the guys that we have grown up watching as we've become NFL fans over the last, 8 to 10 years, however long it's been for either of us. But it's just sad. It was sad when Peyton left. It was also very sad to see Brett Favre go. I know that was a while back, but as much I think as we hate Tom Brady, personally, it'll be sad to see him go. I recognize that he is the greatest of all time, and look, he's not going anywhere soon, but
presumably,
yeah, presumably, but I hope Drew Brees comes back for one more year. I hate seeing him going out like that against the Bucs. And the Saints actually did look pretty good for the first half and a bit of the third quarter before things really went south.
I think if Jared Cook doesn't fumble, I think they win that game.
Right. Everything was really going in their favor, and they were up by a touchdown.
I think they at least get a field goal. They go up by 2 scores. You're going most likely the Bucs drive is going to extend into the fourth quarter because I think there was like 3 or 4 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I don't know.
But it makes me believe, though, the way things are going right now, it's been almost a month already since the Super Bowl, which that's unbelievable. But I feel that since we haven't heard anything personally from Drew Brees yet, my senses are telling me that he's going to come back.
I was just looking, and I think Ian Rappaport said that he's not going to play quarterback next year for the Saints. This is something, and I think this was like a day ago. I don't know where it went, but I don't know.
It's all up in the air.
Don't know, yeah, but it's just like it's a month after the Super Bowl. It's about 6-7 weeks since the Saints last played a game, and you haven't come out and said, whether or not you were going to retire.
Right
now. I want to look up right now and see when Peyton Manning announced his retirement. Because I don't know if it was sometime in March when he retired. I'm not 100% sure. But I think the difference is, though, I think everybody kind of knew that that Peyton was going to retire because there was the audio clip of him telling Bill Belichick after the championship game that this might be his last rodeo. And I think everybody kind of knew that. So once you heard that, you're like, yeah, this is probably it for Peyton. So I just looked it up, and I think in the beginning of March, that's when Peyton announced his retirement. I think it was March. It looks like March 7th of 2016. Yep. That was when he retired. He announced his retirement.
That's 5 years ago already.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you know what? if Drew Brees goes past that date, I mean, that's in a couple days, March 7th. So, if he takes a little bit longer than Peyton, then, I can understand. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of forget about that because, like you said, 5 years since that happened. And it's crazy how fast time flies. But, it's going to be, what are they going to do at quarterback?
Yeah, because personally, I don't see Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston stepping up to the plate like, Drew Brees was. They're not, neither of them are any Drew Brees. I mean, although we did see Jameis throw a wide open touchdown in, was it the Bears game?
No, that was the Bucs game.
That was the Bucs game, to Traquan Smith. So hey, if Jameis Winston could play like that all the time, he'd be a nice replacement. But it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough for New Orleans to adjust. And, Kenny, I guess we should segue into this. Russell Wilson and the displeasure he's having in Seattle with, the offense. Obviously, they fired Brian Schottenheimer, their offensive coordinator. And after that Rams game, it's pretty clear that the offense wasn't clicking up there. And this just stands out to me. Russell Wilson has been sacked 394 times in his career. That's an unbelievable amount of takedowns there. And, I think if Russell Wilson is actually, going to get traded, because there are some trade rumors out there right now, and the Saints are on that list. So that's why I was segueing into this, because you think if that... now, if I could find it, there was a great article from CBS Sports about some, mega trades. Yes, here it is, from Cody Benjamin at CBS Sports. I was reading this the other day. And the Bears, Cowboys, Raiders, and Saints. He has 4 packages here. Now, just picture this. Picture this. If the Chicago Bears are able to get Russell Wilson, that would be perhaps the biggest QB landing ever for that franchise. Because seriously, who had the Bears had that has been a memorable quarterback? I mean, sure, Jay Cutler, of course, had his time up there, but the Bears never really went much of anywhere when he was there.
No, he ended up on a bicycle in the championship game versus Green Bay, and
That's
Caleb
right.
Caleb Haney had to take over for him.
Good Lord, Caleb Haney. I totally forgot about that. But, yeah, the Saints, though, the Saints deal that he's got. Saints get Russell Wilson, a 2022 4th-rounder, and a 2023 5th-rounder. And in exchange, Seattle gets Taysom Hill, offensive tackle Ryan Ramczyk, defensive end Cam Jordan, a 2021 1st-rounder, 2022 1st-rounder, and a 2022 2nd-rounder. If Russell Wilson actually does end up getting traded, that's the type of package that's going to take to get him, no matter where he goes. Because we already saw in the Matthew Stafford-Jared Goff trade, that was a lot. Wait, who was it that gave up all the draft picks? My mind's blanking.
The Rams?
Yeah, it was the Rams. It definitely can take a toll, on your future. So, I mean, look, with a player like Russell Wilson and his caliber, he's worth all those picks. Absolutely. He is. It's just a matter of, is he going to leave Seattle? I'm personally a little worried about it. But connecting it back to the main point here, where I was trying to go with, is that if Drew Brees does announce his retirement here in the coming days, weeks, whenever it is, does New Orleans try to aggressively pursue Russell Wilson with that quarterback situation down there? It's a possibility, and they should probably consider it.
Yeah, I mean, and like we opened up the show with, I mean, now you got J.J. Watt in the division, and Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt, because I wanted to bring this up because I saw this the other day on NBC's Instagram, that Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt have the most sacks, are top 2 in sacks since 2012. Chandler Jones has 97, J.J. Watt has 95.5. So, you know what? If I'm Russell Wilson, yeah, I want to get out of that division. And you know what? If he did go to the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, they could definitely continue to rival the Buccaneers in the division. I really do.
Absolutely.
And you're definitely upgrading at quarterback.
Right. New Orleans, overall, their defense is pretty good. But
the thing you got to worry about, though, is the cap space.
Yes.
Which really every team is, I don't know what everybody's cap situations are, but because of the pandemic, cap space is just at a minimum this offseason. So are people really going to get paid like they would in a normal year? Probably not.
Right.
So the Saints are definitely going to have to move some guys. Now, I don't know who. Probably guys like Janoris Jenkins will probably be moved. Maybe Emmanuel Sanders, Latavius Murray. I don't know. Guys like that. But, I'm just speculating. I have no idea. I'm just thinking of guys that are on veteran contracts. I don't know if they're going to get rid of guys like Latimer or Cameron Jordan's kind of like one of their faces of the franchise. I don't know if they're going to move on from him, but you never know. Maybe they move on from Michael. Maybe they move on from Michael Thomas. You never know because there was a lot of back and forth stuff with him during the season. He was injured. He got injured in the first game of the year, and then I think they suspended him for a game. The team suspended him for something.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So there was a lot of back and forth stuff with Michael Thomas. So I don't know. Maybe they want to get rid of him. I have no idea. But it's and imagine if Russell Wilson went to the Cowboys because that was another team that was on his list. You hear a lot of stuff now with Dak Prescott. He hasn't really said anything about whether or not he you don't know what the situation is going to be. Is he going to come back? Are they going to reach a long-term deal? I think eventually they do. I think that they want Dak to be the quarterback long-term, and I think that if he didn't get hurt, I think he would have had a good statistical season with the weapons that he had. Unfortunately, the defense for the Cowboys was atrocious. So, for their sake, personally, for me as a Giant fan, and Ben is a Giant fan as well, we don't care. We hope the Cowboys' defense suffers, and it continues to be garbage for forever. But I think eventually they're probably going to figure it out. I think under Dan Quinn, I think they'll be a little bit better, maybe a little bit, even though the Falcons' defense with him as the head coach was awful. The last couple of years he was a head coach. So I don't really know. And then you look at Washington. Speaking of teams in the division, Washington released Alex Smith. Now, it's kind of a little surprised by it, but at this point, because we talked about it last week, and I think we talked about it the first time we came back, I think it was kind of expected. Alex Smith wasn't amazing, but I think he game managed enough to where he wasn't Dwayne Haskins just throwing the ball up for grabs and putting Washington's defense in bad spots. That Washington was good enough to overcome some of his deficiencies as a quarterback, and they were able to win enough games to win the division. But I think the stuff that came out about Washington not wanting him, and he was basically kind of just there, especially because they were bringing in, guys like Ron Rivera. Like a whole new regime was coming in, so he was kind of just what was left over, like we talked about. I think they want to get rid of him because, well, I don't know what they're going to do because Taylor Heineke, who started the playoff game, who played really well, they bring him back on the 2-year contract. Maybe they get somebody in the draft. We'll have to wait and see when the draft happens. I guess maybe they just don't think that he's got anything left. And I think Alex Smith has come out and said that he's got plenty of stuff left in the tank and that he wants to play. And I think he'll get an opportunity. There's a couple of teams out there that are in need of like a backup quarterback, and I think he can excel in that role. Teams like the 49ers have come out, and in terms of like rumors and stuff, nothing's really confirmed. 49ers have come out as a team that could be looking for a backup quarterback. because Nick Mullins, starting last year, did not do it for the 49ers when Garoppolo got injured. C.J. Beathard kind of looked like the better option at times, and it's kind of crazy considering how bad he was when he first started as a 49er in 2017, and I think 2017, 2018. Yeah, Beathard was pretty bad. So the 49ers are definitely looking for an insurance policy in case Jimmy Garoppolo ends up getting hurt again. And I think Alex Smith could fit that role, and it would be quite a story considering that he was on the team for a while. You know, it wouldn't be his first rodeo with the 49ers. And, you know, maybe that could be a kind of a storybook ending. He finished his career where it all started. But unfortunately for his sake, he definitely would want to be a starter. But I think there's really not a lot of... I don't know if a lot of teams are going to be willing to go to Alex Smith as a potential starting quarterback. I think he's more of an insurance policy and more of a backup role at this point, just because of the injury history. And the guy's 35 now, which is crazy. So I think he has enough left in the tank. I think he could definitely provide stability as a backup quarterback. Because when you got when you got the league just like completely changing because of the Tom Brady effect, with all these quarterbacks going to different teams now, it's just it's crazy. I mean, and there's going to be more quarterbacks on the move. Deshaun Watson's going to be on the move at some point. You don't know what's going to happen with Russell Wilson. Drew Brees is retiring. There's a lot of change coming to the NFL, and it's going to be a crazy offseason. But we will have to wait and see. I mean, it is kind of unfortunate because considering Washington went through that whole rebranding, and Dwayne Haskins, the kind of bust that he turned into the first 2 years that he was in the league, and after him saying on draft night the league made a mistake, Alex Smith kind of provided a spark that the team needed to win the division that was so bad. One of the worst divisions, I think, ever. I mean, like, every team was pretty bad. Now, Washington and the Giants, they both improved, and I think those are the teams that are going to be fighting for the division next year.
The NFC East as a whole, by the way, Kenny, went 23-40-1.
That's terrible. That's terrible. And the one tie was the Eagles tying against the Bengals.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, the Eagles are going to be terrible next year. I feel bad for Jalen Hurts. He doesn't have a lot to work with right now, especially because they released all of their receivers. Now all the receivers are kind of old, and they kind of struck out in the draft with Jalen Reagor. Dallas's division is awful. I mean, Dallas's defense is awful. Sorry. Dallas's defense is so bad. Unless they improve, they're going to be the same as they were this past season. Dak's going to come back. I mean, we don't know how effective Dak is going to be if he does indeed start, coming off of that horrific injury. Is the defense going to be able to stop people? What are they going to do with Ezekiel Elliott? Because Ezekiel Elliott is definitely not what he was 5 years ago when he first came into the league. There's definitely some decline. He's fumbling the ball a lot more. The offensive line is not what it was. Most of them have retired now or were injured. I think Tyron Smith, the left tackle, is coming back. They still have Zach Martin. But the other three positions on the offensive line are all question marks. So I don't think Dallas is going to be that good. The NFC is loaded. There's a lot of teams in that conference that are better than the Cowboys. And I think Washington and the Giants are going to be a lot better next year than they were this past season. So I think Dallas is going to be looking up in the standings again. And good, because I always love when the Cowboys do bad.
Yeah, you love to see it.
Yeah, so kind of transitioning to our baseball team. So the Yankees baseball has started. The Yankees played a couple of spring training games over the weekend. It was nice to see that baseball is back, and hopefully it's no stoppage like last year, because we are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of when everything shut down, as much as I hate to bring that up. But the Yankees, they went to start the spring training. They are lost on Sunday. They won yesterday, and then they defeated the Baltimore Orioles today. Couple of notable things. Gary Sanchez hit a monster home run in yesterday's game, and he's kind of looking to get back to how he was in the early part of his career. Guys have looked good. Jameson Taillon, that's how you pronounce his name?
Taillon, yep.
Pitched yesterday. He pitched not very nicely. Guys like Adam Warren, who are back for like the third time around as a Yankee, he pitched a scoreless inning. But guys like Michael King, where they're kind of looking at to maybe fill up a roster spot, he gave up 3 earned runs yesterday. Sunday. Garrett Cole pitched yesterday. He gave up an earned run. Aaron Judge went 0 for 2 on Sunday. Luke Voit went 0 for 2 on Sunday. Again, it's all just a small sample size. I don't think we really need to be concerned about everybody. I think everyone just needs to get into a groove. And I think as long as the injuries don't mount up, the Yankees will be ready to play on April 1st.
Yeah, April 1st is just under a month away, Kenny. It's good to see the Yankees getting, some offensive success in spring training. Obviously, Gary Sanchez clobbered a homer the other day. I saw DJ LeMahieu get his first base hit of the spring. Brett Gardner's back. Again, hard to believe. Corey Kluber making his spring training debut tomorrow against Toronto.
Definitely be looking forward to see how he looks. And
not
really their pinstripes, but just see how he is. Because it has been a while since he pitched, and let's see what he's got.
Right, but it's good though to see that the Yankees are getting some offensive success from some of their starters here, because obviously in spring training, it's pretty rare for the starters to go past 3 innings. Just because they're getting warmed up. Everybody's getting warmed up in March for baseball, getting used to the schedule, and fingers crossed there will be a full 162 game season. There probably will end up being some postponements early on in the season, or maybe some cancellations. But all in all, I think we get all 162 games in for every team this season. It's looking pretty good. Yankee Stadium will be at 10% on opening day, likely, unless the state of New York ups it anymore, which they could by April 1st. You never know. As it is,
I think I don't know. Maybe it's me being optimistic. I think we got a great chance.
Yeah, and I mean, as it is now with the announcement today of Texas really opening up, what's it going to be like at Astros and Rangers games this season? I mean, that's going to be an interesting situation.
The one thing you could kind of relate it to is Ron DeSantis in Florida. He did say that stadiums could be full capacity, and I think teams were very, very hesitant to do that, so they ended up not doing that. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I think a couple weeks ago or last week, whenever it was, if people are able to go to a game, they're going to want to go. So
Absolutely.
If it's full capacity, it's going to be a full capacity stadium,
without a doubt.
Because people are itching to get out and do things.
Of course, absolutely. I mean, as they should be. It's been a long time coming for a lot of live sporting events, and as you said, Kenny, next week it's going to be a year since this whole thing started, an entire year. I mean, that's unbelievable. But things are absolutely looking up. The Yankees will be glad to have fans back. I mean, everyone will. But it's just good. It's just good when your team looks pretty good coming out of the gate in spring training. Yankees are 2-1 right now. Obviously, got a full month of spring training baseball here to come. They open against the Blue Jays, of course, at the stadium, April 1st, 1 o'clock game. That'll be Thursday afternoon. And really, I think what a lot of us are looking forward to as Yankees fans, I mean, I know I am personally, how will the Rays look this season? And the Yankees play them the weekend of April 9th through the 11th in Tampa, and then at the stadium April 16th through the 18th. So 6 quick games out of the gate with the Rays. And, of course, Yankees trying to get some early season revenge after what happened last year in the American League Division Series. Mike Brasso. So, but let's forget about that memory.
Yeah,
though,
you
Kenny.
didn't even watch the 9th inning of Game 5.
No, I didn't. I don't know if I ever told that story. But yeah, I was so fed up with the stagnant offense that night, because right after Aroldis Chapman gave up that home run in the bottom of the 8th to Brasso, I made the decision. I was like, you know what? They haven't done anything on offense all night. I'm just gonna go chill in my room. I'm just gonna lay down. I'll check the score when the game's over, because and then I gave it about 10 minutes. I looked and I was like, oh, shocker, lost 2-1. Well, there goes another year down the tubes. So, but Kenny, we've kept saying it, and we hope this holds true, that this looks like it very well could be the Yankees' year to finally get back to the World Series.
Yeah, I feel like we sound like a broken record though at this point, because I know we've definitely said it last year.
Yes.
And
after 2017,
I want to say the year before, I definitely said it should be their year.
After 2017 happened, that's when I started hearing the whole, the chase for 28 is on. We kept hearing it every year, and the last 3 years, seriously, 2 division series appearances and 1 championship series appearance. So things better improve. Because this seems like it might be one of, I don't know. I hate to say it, but I think with this core of Yankee players, I think the window's starting to get a little tighter here, to go run for a title.
Yeah, the window was maybe just like a tad bit starting to close a little bit. Just a little bit, because some of these guys, you're not going to be able to pay all of them. You're not going to be able to bring all of them back.
That's true.
So this definitely has to be the year, because some of these guys are, might just be a 1 year and go somewhere else after.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that just irks me is the lack of balance in their lineup. It's all right-handed. Now, some of the guys that they brought in, I actually like the signings, even though they're not necessarily going to be on the roster on opening day. Jay Bruce and Derek Dietrich. These are guys that have been in the league for a while. Both were former Cincinnati Reds at 2 different times. These guys can definitely provide some left-handed power and some depth in case they want to keep these guys around, in case guys get hurt. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't think we're going to make it through the whole year without somebody getting hurt. I think it's inevitable that somebody's going to get hurt, because history does have a tendency to repeat itself. And I think that one of our big guys might end up getting hurt again. I mean, cross your fingers, knock on wood, that none of that happens. But I think it's important that the Yankees keep guys like Derek Dietrich, guys like Jay Bruce, and even Miguel Andujar. You don't really know what his role is going to be on this team. I mean, they're trying him out in so many different positions, the outfield, first base. He was the third baseman at one point, and he did suffer that injury early on in 2019 that had him out for the rest of the year, and then Gio Urshela became a star in 2019. So Aaron Boone is not giving the job back to Andujar, and that's why things like that happen, and that's unfortunate, because Andujar was the runner-up for Rookie of the Year in 2018, and I believe he should have got it. I don't think Ohtani deserved it over him, because Ohtani was hurt for a major portion of that year, and Andujar played a whole year, and he was fantastic. But it's unfortunate that the year after that he suffered a season-ending injury. I can't talk today. And now he's kind of just looking to get a role on the team. And I don't really think there necessarily is a role for him. But I think the Yankees have good depth and especially at pitching. I think pitching, they got a lot of depth there too. The one thing that scares you is, once again, kind of repeating myself, that some of these guys are coming off for injuries, and relying upon them to have good years is kind of a tall task. But you know what? It's all 1-year deals. Tyone looked good yesterday. Garrett Cole, I am anticipating, is going to have a good year and get an all-star nod. This team's going to be good, and I think this team will win the division. Like we talked about, the Rays have taken a step back, let some guys go. They traded Blake Snell. They let go of Charlie Morton, who is now a Atlanta Brave. So the pitching's kind of taken a hit. So we'll see if those analytics get the best of them this time around. I think the team that's going to be fighting with the Yankees for the division is not going to be the Rays. I think it's going to be the Blue Jays. I think with that addition of George Springer, I think it all depends on their pitching. I think the Blue Jays are a team to watch out for, and I think they could definitely be a sleeper for a wild card spot.
Yeah, that's another person I forgot to mention who got a hit in one of his first games too. George Springer today. I'm pretty sure it was today that he made his debut for Toronto, and he got a base hit in his first at bat today. And obviously, he signed that massive contract. I think it was 6 years. Was it 5 years or 6 years? Yeah, 6 years. That's right, 6-year deal. And it was a lot of money too. If I could just find that amount, that'd be great. Either way, it was a big contract. He's locked into it now. So, okay, there you go. 6-year, $150 million deal. And George Springer, he can bring a lot to a team. Absolutely. And, I mean, you just look at what he did in 2016 with Houston, playing all 162 games, just shy of 650 at-bats, 29 homers, 82 RBIs. And he also had a career-high 39 homers and 96 RBIs in 2019.
He was definitely underrated in that Astros core.
Yeah, from 2017 through 2019 too, he was an all-star. He's finished in 7th place and 13th place for the MVP voting, and he's a really good player. He really is, and he can bring a lot to this Toronto team that is still pretty young, but they are getting better, day by day. Obviously, between Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr., there's some really nice young guys on this team, Kenny. And I agree with your argument there because it almost feels like the Rays season was kind of like a one-and-done type of deal just because of their low payroll. Obviously, they've lost Blake Snell now to San Diego. I don't think... Is Charlie Morton now with the Braves?
Yeah, he's now with the Braves.
Yes,
yep.
the Braves.
Yep.
So they
did bring back Chris Archer, though.
Yes, that's right. Can't forget about Archer.
I don't know. He's not going to be the Chris Archer that he was.
No, he won't be. But they've lost some key pieces here, and that's why it almost feels like Toronto might be more of a challenge, if anything, to the Yankees in the East this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the lineup, I kind of just looking at their projected lineup. You have Springer. They seriously, I can't talk today. I don't know what it is. Springer, Marcus Semien, Bo Bichette, Guerrero, Biggio, Gurriel Jr., Teoscar Hernandez. They got all these guys are young, and if you really look at the lineup, I mean, other than Danny Jansen, who was batting 185 last year and hit that grand slam off of, I think it was Adam Ottavino.
Yep, that's right. That's what that was. in the last week of the regular season, I want to say.
Yeah, so you know what? The lineup is good. And then you kind of look at their projected starters. They got Ryu, who is pretty good. Robbie Ray, who they acquired from the Diamondbacks. They also got Steven Matz from the Mets. So we'll see how that all pans out. Maybe he could kind of revive his career with the Blue Jays. All of them are southpaws. All of them are left-handers. So you know what? I think the Blue Jays are definitely a wild card team this year. This year, I think they have the lineup for it. I think the rotation's good enough to get them to where they got to be. They also did bring in Kirby Yates, who was a former Yankee and was pretty bad when he was a Yankee, but he was an all-star with the Padres. So the Blue Jays do have their closer for this upcoming season. So we'll see. I really think that they're going to be, I don't want to say neck and neck with the Yankees, but they're definitely going to give the Yankees a hard time.
Yeah, I think the Blue Jays this season should fall somewhere in between the 85 to 90 win range. Something around there. I think they'll be a playoff team, like you said. They have the lineup, and they're getting better, absolutely. So, you know, why not? And obviously, they won't be at the Rogers Center in Toronto, at least for the springtime. It all depends on how the pandemic shapes out to be throughout the summer. But
so
they will
they potentially go back to Buffalo again.
Right. I think, though, for now, I'm pretty sure they're going to play at their spring training facility in Dunedin. I don't know how you pronounce the town name in Florida. I think that's the current plan right now, since Canada obviously is in more of a heavier lockdown. So they will not be back in Toronto for a while. And that's the same deal with the Raptors, who are continuing to play in Tampa right now. All these Canadian teams are basically playing in the U.S. except for all the Canadian hockey teams. The Canadians, Maple Leafs, Senators, Canucks, all of them are up there. Otherwise, all the other Canadian teams are playing in the U.S. right now.
Yeah, so I'm kind of just looking at the Rays lineup. Curious to see what Randy Arozarena does.
Mm-hmm. After what
season.
Was a miraculous playoff run for him. I mean, this guy was doing everything for the Rays.
Yeah, he was their offense. Because there were some points in whether it was the championship series or more specifically the World Series, where the Rays really weren't doing anything, and he did kind of provide a spark that they needed. And then you kind of look at their rotation. Without Snell, you got Glasnow, Rich Hill, Chris Archer, Yarbrough, Waka, and Kittredge. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, Andrew Kittredge.
Yeah,
pretty sure. That's
so, are they going to do a 6-man rotation? They're probably. I mean, between them and the Yankees, they're definitely going to be doing openers.
Right. Which would make sense. I think
that's kind of like the new normal of baseball now. As much as I hate to say it, because analytics are ruining the game, and we saw it blow up in their face, the Yankees' face last year when they had Davy Garcia start, and then they took him out, I believe, after one inning. Put in J. Happ, and everything just fell apart after that. So, I mean, I think without question, you're gonna see the opener again. I mean, I'm just curious to see with guys like Archer, Rich Hill, and Waka. I'm curious to see if the Rays kind of like revitalize, more specifically Archer and Waka, because Rich Hill is, I believe he's 41.
Oh yeah, Rich Hill's getting up there.
Yeah, so I don't want to say they're going to revitalize Rich Hill because he's kind of on his way out, but Michael Waka, he spent the season with the Mets. Chris Archer, they made that trade a couple of years ago with the Pirates to acquire Glasnow and Austin Meadows. So now you get Archer back. Maybe he finds some magic from his first stint with the Rays. Who knows? I mean, personally, I don't think so, but you never know. And then you kind of look at, looking at what, because I'm on rotochamp.com, seeing what their projections are for Really, like the standings and the lineups, they have the Yankees winning 98 games, and they have the Rays and the Blue Jays both winning 86 games this season.
Yeah, it seems like the general consensus right now is that the Yankees are projected to win the AL East by a wide margin, like 5-6 games.
Yeah, I mean, if they're healthy, yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
But, if guys are getting hurt left and right, definitely not going to happen. I mean, and then you look at their projected lineup. They got LeMahieu, Judge, Hicks, Stanton, Voit, Torres, Clint Frazier. Aaron Boone did mention that Clint Frazier is the starting left fielder, which I'm very excited about because I think Clint Frazier, these past couple of years, he's been waiting for that opportunity, and he has not gotten that opportunity because of injuries. But now this is his time, man. And I think he's going to go out there, and I think he's going to have a good season. Then you got Urshela at third, and then Gary Sanchez batting ninth. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much what the lineup's going to be, barring any major injuries. And listen, Brett Gardner coming back, I've said the past couple of years that I don't think we should bring him back, but the Yankees keep bringing him back. But the way people have treated Brett Gardner on social media is terrible. And it makes me go back to, you know what? I'm happy he's still with the team. Because, he's the longest tenured Yankee. He's on the team since 2008.
Yep, the last player to be a part of that 09 championship team.
Exactly. He's a good, still plays good defensively. Obviously, the bat is, not what it used to be. But you know what? If he's going to be a role player on this team, I think I'm fine with that. And I think I can't see him being in another uniform. I can't see that. So. And he's even said he wants his family to see him play, possibly one last time. Because I think if there were fans last year, maybe he probably would have walked away. But I think if the Yankees do win the World Series this year, and I think that we're going to have more and more fans being able to go to games as the year progresses, I really just I don't see us being stagnant much longer. I think we're moving back towards what we should be moving back towards what life used to be like. But things change. I think that we'll have a lot of fans in the stands by the end of the year. We're going to have close to, if not a packed house, close to a packed house in every stadium by the postseason in October. I feel comfortable in saying that.
Yeah, if we're
because
not
because of the vaccines. Now, people keep talking about, well, there's all these new strains and all this stuff and whatever. But you know what? If enough people get vaccinated and are fully vaccinated and these people have enough confidence in the vaccine, then there's no reason why we can't have some normalcy and allow people to go to games.
Yeah, and speaking of which, Kenny, it was just announced today to reporters. President Joe Biden said now that apparently the U.S. is going to have enough vaccine supply for every American by the end of May, which is moved up now from the end of July.
See, that I did not see.
That's
saw
even better news.
July.
That's even better news. And I agree. If we're not at least 80% capacity by the time we hit the fall, I'd be highly surprised because
I know, and then it's like, what do you do at that point?
Cases are really dropping. Like drastically,
Yeah,
we're under 50,000 cases a day the last 2-3 days in the U.S.
I mean, compared to where we were, it's a miracle. I mean,
that's impressive.
Over the summer, it was like 20. It was like an average of 20,000 a day.
Right.
So it was it's still really bad, but when everybody's saying, oh, we're gonna hit 100,000, 200,000 in the winter, I was like, I don't believe that, and then that ended up happening. But yeah, listen, if cases continue to go down, states are starting to fully open up. Vaccine rollouts are getting to people. I know I have some family members that are going to be getting their doses soon, so that's a good thing. I have some mixed emotions about it. I think it's great, but also there's a little bit of skepticism that comes along with it. But I think as long as they're effective, as long as they work, we don't really have anything to worry about. So I'm anticipating that in the fall, when the playoffs are around, we're going to have a packed house. Or close to a packed house. And hopefully we have that for every sport, football, basketball, because the Garden has allowed fans back into the stands. So, with the Knicks and them playing well, they finally have a crowd to play around and motivate them to play better. And the Yankees, they're going to have fans. The Mets are going to have fans. The Nets will have fans. it's great that fans are coming back, and that's what the players even talk about it. They miss having fans in the stands, and I don't think we as viewers that just watch the game on TV, I think we don't appreciate what fans provide for games until they're not there. I mean, especially when we were watching football week 1, and I had the Packers-Vikings game on, and they're playing in Minneapolis. I mean, the fact that they were playing in a stadium with nobody, it was weird. It was just it was not normal. You got to have the crowd. I mean, as much as I loved that, Aaron Rodgers is able to do whatever he wants at the line of scrimmage, and he has no distractions, and be able to pick apart the Vikings defense. You want to have the crowd there because the crowd provides an atmosphere, and the adrenaline gets you going, and not having the crowd really it sucked. It sucked, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I know people were freaking out within the Super Bowl because I've heard a lot of people talk about, well, the Super Bowl should not have had 29,000 people at the game. I get it.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know some people don't like it, and you know what? Respect their opinion. Be like, you know what? Okay, well, that's your opinion. For me, you know what? At some point, you got to go back to normal. So let's start getting there now.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's like there's like different things. Like, well, how come you could do this but you can't do that? That I can understand. Like, why is it like you can go be on a packed? I watched the Vic T. Botetto video before we came on, and he was saying how why is it that we could be on a plane close together for a couple hours, but you can't go and dine out in a restaurant for an hour. Like, I understand. Like, I can understand that. That's where I get where some of these people are coming from. But you know what? Look, 29,000 people, healthcare workers, well, not everybody, but masks are required. It's all socially distanced. Like, it's not like when you looked at the game, it's not like every seat was filled with a person. There was cardboard cutouts.
Yeah, and let's not forget, too, part of those 29,000 people were 7,500 vaccinated healthcare workers.
Yeah.
We can't forget about that either. So that's a good chunk of the
and you're
the people
outside.
Yes.
And I feel like people just forget that social distancing is also part of the health measures that we have to take.
Right.
And I feel like nobody talks about that. Everybody's like, well, you got a mask, you got a double mask, you got a triple mask, you got to do all these different things. But social distancing is also part of the health protocols. So as long as people are away from each other, then there shouldn't be a problem. And you're outside. That's why people are saying that the cases are spiking, is because everybody's inside because of the winter and all that. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Yeah, people forget that, between being outside and inside makes a big difference. And I didn't personally mind that, Tampa went ahead and allowed a little bit more than maybe what other cities are doing right now. It just all depends on different markets. I mean, it is what it is. The best thing, though, is that fans are coming back. Boston is going to start having fans back in a couple of weeks. Bigger cities like L.A., Chicago, I mean, they're going to come back, and very soon. So, and the fact that there will be apparently enough vaccine supply by the end of May is really encouraging news. So, you know what? The health organizations and the presidential administrations are doing all that they can. So,
yeah,
we'll see where we go from here.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, yep. All right. So when we come back, we'll kind of transition to other things. We'll talk about the New York Knicks. We'll talk about the movie that we watched last night, latest in the Marvel franchise that we watched that Ben has not seen yet until last night. So stick around. We will be right back here on Infinite Sports Radio.
All right, and before we head to break, it is top of the hour, 8 o'clock, which means it is time for the hourly sports update. We'll begin with college basketball. Big night of hoops indeed. Currently, Arkansas blowing out South Carolina, 81-54, 7 minutes left in that game. Alabama up on Auburn, 37-27 at the half. Texas over Iowa State, 38-28, Texas Tech over TCU 36-22. And a big matchup among the top teams in college basketball, Illinois and Michigan. Andre Curbelo has 11 points and 5 rebounds as Illinois leads Michigan 33-22. Illinois, the 4 seed, Michigan, the 2 seed. And also earlier, just wrapped up a little while ago, number 3 Baylor prevailed over number 6 West Virginia 94-89 in overtime. What a game there. And then later tonight, Wisconsin-Purdue at 9 o'clock on the ESPN2. Duke, Virginia Tech, 8 o'clock on the ACC Network. Over in the NBA, Grizzlies over the Wizards, 62-52. They're nearing the halftime. Clippers and the Celtics at 16-9 there. Boston leading in the early minutes on TNT. Hawks over the Heat, 19-15. Later tonight, Knicks at the Spurs at 8:30. Nuggets at the Bucks at 9. And then Suns at the Lakers, the late game at 10 o'clock on TNT. And then finally, over in the NHL, New York Rangers looking to get it going again after a tough loss on Sunday to the Bruins. They're leading the Sabres 2-1 at the end of the first period. Islanders and the Devils scoreless through the first. Flyers and the Penguins also scoreless through the first. That game's on NBCSN. Red Wings and the Blue Jackets knotted at 1 through the first period, and the Senators and Canadiens no score through the first period. And later tonight, very shortly, Canucks, Jets, Hurricanes, Predators, Lightning, Stars. That is your hourly sports update. As Kenny said, we'll be back right after the break. You're listening to Infinite Sports Radio on 98.1 WQAQ. But you know what? It's all about imagination, and that's Marvel. And we will keep going. The plot, like I said, maybe something miraculous happens down the road. Maybe there's like some serum that makes Peggy younger again. I don't know, because I don't think she's dead yet. At least it didn't look like it in The Winter Soldier. It's hard to tell, though. There's going to be more twists and turns, though, apparently, according to Kenny. So, Kenny, we will keep going forward on the list. And by the time we, come back into this studio next week, I might be a changed man, to say.
All right, and we are back here on Infinite Sports Radio, hour number 2 of our radio program. And last night, we finally sat down. We didn't finish the franchise. We were 2 movies away from doing so. But the recent movie that we watched was Avengers Infinity War. And I mean, again, I don't know how this kid never saw any spoilers, nothing. And I made sure, right before we even, because I have Disney Plus now, I made sure that he didn't see any of the graphics, didn't read any of the captions, nothing. He just went in and watched it without knowing anything. Not watching any trailers, nothing. And he was shook. He was shook.
I still am. It's not I was. I still am. It's fun. It really is fun to watch people's reactions to movies that you've seen countless times. See their reactions and their first time viewing it. I just feel like, at least for me, it just breathes new life into watching these movies again, because there's just so many different things that happen in these movies that I've reacted to. And I wanted to see how he would react to. And yeah, the ending, it was I don't want to say it was funny, because the ending's very sad and probably one of the darkest parts of the franchise. But yeah, you're not kidding.
But have you come back as a changed man? And what were your thoughts, Mr. Upson?
Well, let me just say that last night was one of the perhaps craziest nights of this year. Really, it was. We've managed to watch 21 of the current 23 movies in the franchise over the course of 12 days. Yeah, 12 days. That's an average of almost 2 a day.
The other problem is we don't go to bed at normal times.
No, we are not human. We really aren't.
But I think it's safe to say that, at least in terms of watching movies, going to bed at those times, well, at least for me, is kind of a thing of the past.
Right. Well, but, yeah, to go back on that quote, though, I really am a changed man after what I saw last night in Avengers Infinity War. Should I just spoil what happens.
Well,
at
I mean,
end.
the movie is 3 years old.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I lived under a rock. I guess I should just.
I mean, at this point, if you haven't seen the movie, that's your fault.
Yeah, seriously. So I guess we'll just, I'll just go through some of the plot points that have really changed my perspective on a lot of things in this franchise. Well, what can I say in that, I've made a list, all right? I've made a list.
Oh, wait, but weren't you supposed to tweet about it?
Yeah, I was thinking about tweeting about this last night. It didn't happen. I was too emotionally shocked.
Well, it was also we watched it. I think we started watching it at around I think 11:45, and it ended at like 2
about
o'clock.
2. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, no that. And Endgame's even longer than that. It's 3 hours long.
See, when you're in college, you got to balance, your work versus your fun time. So we're doing this at all hours of the night, folks. Yeah, but look, right now on the list, it's been crazy, and my top 5 as of right now. Obviously, there's 2 left, and that would be Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man: Far From Home, but. The top 5 right now is currently Iron Man, The Avengers, Avengers Infinity War, Captain America Civil War, and Black Panther. And just on the outside is Thor Ragnarok. But, yeah, look, the Thor movies, they've been depressing. They didn't pack a punch to me.
What about Ragnarok?
Well, I was going to say, though, Ragnarok is where it all shifted. Ragnarok just absolutely...
I mean, it took the first... couple of seconds for you to realize, this is the best Thor movie.
Yeah, and
which was the same for me when I first watched it too.
When Thor leaves to go back to Earth or wherever he was going at the end of the Dark World,
to Earth, yes.
Yeah, at the end of the Dark World, and Odin tells him, and then only for that to be revealed at the end, where it happens to be Loki, and he's like, "No, thank you." It's like, oh no. So. It's weird, too, Kenny, because I went back and forth with Loki. I hated him, I liked him, and then I couldn't make up my mind. Because, it seemed like he betrayed Thor. And supposedly, on, was it Malekith's planet, whatever, in the Dark World when, he quote-unquote died. And then, yeah, then that led up to the end where it's like, no, thank you. It's like, what? He didn't die? And then in the beginning of, was it Ragnarok? No, it was Infinity War, actually. Skipping ahead to Infinity War. But actually, no, Ragnarok was awesome in the fact that the two of them actually teamed up together to take down Hela, who was their sister that got revealed in that movie, which nobody knew about. And, gosh, I thought Loki was bad?
Yeah.
Good. Lord. Oh, gosh, what can I say about that? I mean, that was crazy. But Ragnarok is by far the best Thor movie. Yeah, and then at the beginning of Infinity War. Look, for me, Ultron really, it struck something good in me. I was like, ooh, I actually like Ultron. And, this definitely was one of the lines in Avengers Age of Ultron that got me.
You and I can hurt them. But you will tear them apart from the inside.
Yeah, that line from Avengers Age of Ultron, which is a couple movies before, that just got me. Ultron's from the inside. It's like, oh, Lord. That's a little freaky. But I thought Ultron was bad. That's another step up here in Infinity War, because it came up with Thanos. Thanos is one crazy, psychotic... I'm not going to say anything else because it's probably going to be something explicit. He is one crazy...
Well, we always have the dump button in case you want to use that.
That is true. That's true. He's crazy and psychotic. Let's just stick with that.
But he thought he was doing the right thing.
Come again?
Thanos thought he was doing the right thing.
Well, of course he did. That's just Thanos' opinion. Yeah, but the ending of Infinity War, that's where everything just flipped on its head. Because he gets all 6 Infinity Stones, Thanos. Yeah, I kind of saw it coming too, because it's like, well, he's too powerful for everyone. Like, who's going to beat him? Are the Avengers actually going to beat him? And, sure enough, they didn't. And now...
They came close.
Well, yeah, you came close, but you didn't end it. Nope. So, Spider-Man's hugging Stark, and he's crying. The poor kid, he's 19 years old or whatever. He vanishes into dust. Let's see, who else left? Sam, yeah, he's gone. The Falcon. Let's see.
Black Panther.
Yep, Black Panther's gone.
Bucky.
Rip Chadwick Boseman. Wakanda forever. Yeah, Loki. Well, again, Loki. Yeah, whatever. He's gone. But yeah, just the fact that like half of the world vanished. The Pims. That's right. Hank and his wife, who came back in the mid-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp. They're gone, and Scott, who's Ant-Man, he's stuck in the quantum realm. I mean, what's going to happen now? I mean, you have half the Avengers gone. I mean, half the world's gone too. So, and as Kenny has told me, we're going to wait on Endgame for a little while because, it's just got to eat away at my brain the next couple days because, look, if we did this show, if we watched Infinity War and came to the studio like right after instead of last night, I don't know how I'd be able to process. Literally, I was lying in bed last night just thinking, well, what's going to happen? It was eating at my mind. I mean, I couldn't get over it.
We'll tear them apart from the inside.
Yeah, so it literally did tear me apart. So, yeah, the Marvel franchise has beyond gotten me hooked. It's really incredible how I never saw any of these movies. But, yeah, Infinity War shook me, to say the least. And the franchise is almost over. We're almost done, Kenny. We only got two left.
We're at the end. The end game.
Yeah, we literally are at the end game. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Infinity War? But for now,
I mean, a lot of people know what happened. It's just, you're...
Well, I know. A lot of people know. I just don't know yet. And I'm scared to know because, good Lord.
From the inside.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was very funny to watch your reactions. It really was. You were just blown away by some of the things that happened. And I told you last week. I said it's only going to get crazier, man. And
yeah, you weren't kidding.
Yeah, we reached that point. And
I mean, literally, I think I was shaking at the end. Like, I felt weak.
But you know what the best part about last night was? The wind outside of our building was picking up when Thanos arrived into Wakanda.
Yeah, so Thanos was coming up to Quinnipiac.
Yeah, so it was just like the atmosphere going on outside, along with the movie while we were watching it. It was perfect. It was just a perfect setting, and it was funny. It really was. But yeah, I mean, we're at the end. It's sad, but hey, we got two more movies. I mean, the bigger one of the two is obviously Endgame, so obviously I'll get your reactions for that. And I know last week you did say you were going to be a changed man, and you know what? When we watch Endgame, you'll be a changed man after that too. Yeah, seriously.
From the inside.
I mean, you were just obsessed with Ultron, but I told you once you get to Thanos, it changes, and not even halfway through the movie, you were like, yeah, Thanos is better. And, yeah. But...
yeah.
Listen, I, along with many other people, know what happens. A credit to you for not getting spoiled for these movies. And, like I said, we had trailers to look at. We had, different visuals and stuff before the movies came out. For you... I don't want you looking at anything. I didn't have you look at anything. Didn't even read the descriptions.
Nope. I haven't seen anything. I literally have no idea what's gonna happen. And
so that's what makes it good. You don't even watch it. So we'll see what happens. We will see. I will love to see where you put Endgame once we get to that in your movie rankings.
One more time for the Ultron fans out there.
No, I don't. You and I can hurt them, but you will tear them apart from the inside.
Yeah, I can't get over that Ultron quote still. From the inside. We've been just saying that, like, back and forth every single movie ever since then. But yeah, still, Thanos is even more cold than Ultron, so. Whew. Anyways, that's the Marvel rant. Well, not really a rant, more of a discussion. But
yeah, so I'm to see one again at some point. Whether if it's not next week, it'll definitely be the week after, because we're definitely going to get through those two.
Oh yeah,
at some point,
depending on when we get to Endgame. That nobody come near me, because I'm going to be sensitive.
I mean, we are in the pandemic, so social distance. Social distancing.
That's true. So that's on my side. But
so don't worry about that. But
I don't know what's going to happen, but something's going to go down.
I mean, between work and you going home this weekend, who knows? I mean, when are we gonna get to it? I don't know. I don't know. It's a 3-hour movie, so I would like for us to watch it a little bit. Hopefully, we can watch it a little bit earlier in the night at some point, so we're not staying up till the sun comes up. But because Thanos, at the end of the movie of Infinity War, was watching the sun set. So we kind of want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But
we shall see.
Yeah, we shall see. Again, it's very funny to watch your reactions to the movies. It's unfortunate that it'll be coming to an end at some point, whenever that is. So, kind of transitioning from the Marvel stuff, unless you wanted to add anything onto that. I guess not.
Nope, that's all I have to say about the Marvel franchise right now. Yeah, I am a changed man. Seriously, I don't know where it's going to go from here. My guess is that, it's another Avengers movie, so they have to come back, right? Or does Thanos take over and everyone just dies in Endgame? I don't know. What's going to happen? I don't know.
I don't know.
We're gonna find out in a matter of days, weeks, whenever it is.
Yeah, let the movie answer your questions for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. That's all the advice I got for you, because I'm sure as heck not going to say anything. I think I've been pretty good for the most part, not spoiling anything. But yeah, we'll get to it at some point. Okay, so kind of moving on to something that's more uplifting for Mr. Upson over here is the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks are on a 3-game winning streak and are over 500. A game over 500. When have we seen the Knicks be over 500?
Well,
at this point in the year.
These are some horrifying statistics. The last time that the Knicks were actually at 500 was during the 2017 season, when I think they were 22-22. And that's at the midway point of the season. And that team imploded. Knicks ended up going
that was
nowhere.
with Derek Fisher as the head coach.
Yep, that's right. And nothing happened there. But this one is really painful out of all of them, in that February as a whole, Knicks went 9-5, and it was their first winning month of basketball since 2017. So in 3.5 years, they haven't had a single month above 500. Wow.
Yeah.
Let that sink in.
It's been a long time coming for the Knicks.
Yeah, a long time coming, to say the least. Seriously. Look, I can't keep saying it enough that the Knicks as a whole are such a great basketball team to watch right now. It's pretty clear that when they're playing defense, they can win games, and they're going to be in it almost, every game. I mean, seriously. But like you just go through the game log in the past week since we've been up. Obviously, Stephen A. Is pretty giddy about him. He was voicing his opinions on First Take, and I mean, look, I am feeling so amazed with this team, because if you told me that the Knicks would be a game above 500 at the midway point, as we're literally days away from the All-Star break, and that they would be, fourth in the East right now. Fourth. I'm not even kidding. I'm pretty sure they're still in fourth place right now. Yeah, they are. The New York Knicks hold fourth place in the Eastern Conference right now. If you told me both of those things at the beginning of the season, I would have said you're crazy. I mean, the Knicks have really done some crazy stuff, and they've gone 7-2 in their last 9 games, and they've won 4 out of their last 5 to end February. And Julius Randle is an all-star reserve officially. Thank goodness for that, because he is playing out of his mind this season. 23.4 points per game, 48% from the field, 42% from 3. Julius Randle has had some of his best basketball in his career this season in New York, and it's great to see that, because he is really doing so much work to help the Knicks out, and at the age of 26, he is still very much in the prime of his career. And let's not forget here about the man running the show, Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau emphasizes defense. If you're not playing with a good work ethic out on the court, you are not going to get minutes at all. And obviously tonight, the New York Knicks, they're about to tip off actually with the San Antonio Spurs. On the road, that'll be an 8:30 tip on MSG, so literally just minutes away. But you'll see guys like Kevin Knox and Austin Rivers stepping up tonight, because obviously Derrick Rose, who also has been a pretty nice addition to this team, he is out. And due to health and safety protocols, that is. Elfrid Payton is also out. He was out the other night as well. Forget what injury he's dealing with. So they're down a couple guys. So, it's going to be up to Kevin Knox and or Austin Rivers tonight to step up and fill those roles. And it's not going to be easy against a Spurs team that is above 500. They have been on a long pause, though, due to a COVID-19 outbreak. They just got back underway. I want to say it was on Saturday. It was either Saturday or Sunday, I'm pretty sure, against the New Orleans Pelicans. They ended up getting the home win there to start it off. Yeah, Greg Popovich has a pretty good squad there. So this should be a good game tonight in San Antonio. I'm optimistic that the Knicks can walk away with this one. And, they got the Pistons again on Thursday. They looked really good against the Detroit Pistons on Sunday. Ended up winning 109-90. Really poured it on the offense. The Pistons scored, what was it in the first half? 37 points. 37. They are the second worst team in the NBA. Yeah, I know.
They are. They're really
at 9-25 or whatever they are. That's hard to believe. They're the second
and they're
worst.
looking to move Blake Griffin.
Yep.
And actually, Dennis Smith, revenge game.
Yeah, he comes back to the Garden on Thursday night. But they're not even the worst team in the NBA right now.
Yeah, when they previously played, he had seven points. And this is the guy that LeBron James said the Knicks should have drafted instead of Porzingis.
Yeah, and you would think that the Pistons would be the worst team in the NBA right now. But there's a team out there that's even worse, and that would be the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are 7-28. They just fired Ryan Saunders, I'm pretty sure, last week it was, and then they hired a new coach like hours after that.
Yeah, it is really
the Timberwolves are a terrible
It is really
franchise.
hard to believe that a couple years ago this team was a playoff team.
Yeah.
With Wiggins, with Karl Anthony Towns, with Jimmy Butler at one point. Tom Thibodeau was the head coach.
Not anymore. Things have fallen apart fast up there. They're 12
games.
There
was a lot of like back and forth though with Jimmy Butler questioning the younger guys, their effort that they would show in practices and stuff like that, and that's kind of one of the reasons why he left.
Right.
And I guess since then, everything's kind of fell apart.
Yeah, you keep forgetting that Jimmy Butler was on the Timberwolves. I forget about it too, rather often. But yeah, they've lost 8 straight. They're 7-28. They're 12 games out of a playoff spot, so they could be eliminated perhaps by the beginning of April. It's very possible.
That is insane.
With over a month left in the season, they could be already eliminated from playoff contention. That's how far behind they are right now. It is bad. But yeah, for the Knicks though, it's really been impressive what they've been doing this year, and they are 18-17. Like I said, favorable matchups here going into the All-Star break with the Spurs tonight and the Pistons. But as a fan, I'm a little bit concerned coming out of the break. That the second half schedules were released at the end of last week, and I don't personally know how the Knicks are going to fare going down the second half here. They got some tougher opponents on this second half schedule. Right away out of the break, you got to go on the road 4 straight games to face the Bucks, Thunder, Nets, and Sixers. That's out of the break. That's brutal. And in April and May, you got to face some tough opponents in the West. You got to face the Lakers, Mavericks, Suns. Then a 4-game stretch to begin May between Denver, or the Nuggets, the Suns, the Clippers, and the Lakers. Oh, Lord. That is a brutal stretch. The Knicks don't have it easy in the second half. This is a much tougher schedule. So the Knicks need to do everything they can to get themselves in decent position. And right now, they're okay. The East is so packed, though. The Knicks hold fourth at 18-17 going into tonight's action. But right behind them in 5th, 6th, and 7th, the Heat, Celtics, and Raptors are all at 17-17. And then the Hornets hold the 8th spot at 16-18. The 4 seed to the 10 seed in the East right now is separated by just 2 games.
Yeah, I think that kind of makes me a little nervous. Just considering how when you look at teams like the Heat and the Raptors who were really bad to start the beginning of the year, and now they've kind of picked it up. The Heat have won 6 in a row, and they obviously made it to the finals, albeit it was in the bubble, but they got there.
Right.
The Celtics, they've struggled mightily during the season, and obviously our roommate Johnny has been through a lot with this team these past couple weeks.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very scary to be out in the common room when the Celtics are playing.
They've been struggling
because they're underperforming and playing down to their competition. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we did watch the game the other night or whenever it was last week when Luka hit the game-winning 3 against them. The Celtics, I don't know what's up with them. And something that we've kind of talked about with Johnny is Brad Stevens maybe on the way out as the head coach of the Celtics if they're not able to figure it out? I mean, he's been with this team for a while now, and they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They made it when, they had guys like Terry Rozier in their starting lineup against LeBron. I think that was Tatum's rookie year, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, I think you're right.
So now it just seems like everything's falling apart. They're missing pieces. Obviously, Marcus Smart is out, so we don't know when he's coming back. But they gotta get somebody at the deadline. I think they're definitely gonna make the playoffs, but I mean, this team is so talented, and they're a very young team. They're still a very young team.
Yeah,
that they should not be playing like this. But when you look at, like I said, when you look at the Heat, the Celtics, and the Raptors, these teams are on the come up, and I think that's something that the Knicks have to worry about. Because obviously, I think if you're the 76ers, the Nets, or the Bucks, barring any injuries to any of their star players, especially with the Bucks with Giannis.
The Nets situation has been interesting though, because between Durant, Harden, and Kyrie, who are the new big 3 in the NBA, they've only played a total of 9 games together. Yeah. Which could be concerning. It's not affecting them right now. They're 9-1 in their last 10, and they're a half game back of the East right now. The East leader Sixers. So that's going to be something to watch, though. But I agree, though, Kenny. Barring any injuries, I think it should be 1 through 3.
Yeah, I think the difference between the Nets, the Sixers, and the Bucks is when the 76ers are missing either Simmons or Embiid, they're a different team. They're really not that good. I mean, you saw it in the playoffs when Simmons was out. I mean, Embiid was doing all he could, and the Sixers just couldn't do anything in the playoffs, ended up getting swept. Giannis is the focus on the Bucks, and if he gets injured, are they going to be able to be a top 3 team in the East? I don't know.
It's hard to say that with Definity right now.
Yeah, but I think but with the Nets, though, what I was going to say was, not really so much a Kyrie, but I think Harden and KD have proven that they can carry a team for an extended period of time. So I think that, if one or two guys are out and at least one of them is starting, I think the Nets are still a very good team. I mean, Harden has played very well since the trade with the Rockets, who have lost 12 games in a row. I mean, they are awful. They are a terrible team now. I thought that maybe they'd kind of hang around because, a couple weeks ago we were looking at the West and every team other than the Timberwolves was separated by, 1 or 2 games. So, the Western Conference is still it's still jam-packed, but the Rockets, they fell off. I mean, now they're 7 games back of a playoff spot. The Warriors right now have the 8th seed. You kind of look at the teams other than the Warriors. You got the Mavericks, who, again, another team that started slow out of the gate, but they're starting to pick it up now. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. You got the Grizzlies. You got the Pelicans. Those are probably the teams that are going to be fighting it out for that last that last playoff spot. But actually, there's also the play-in tournament. So, so they're definitely going to duke it out in that, and we'll see what happens when the playoffs come around. Also, one team that you got to watch out for in the Western Conference is the Phoenix Suns. We were watching Inside the NBA, and I remember Charles Barkley was talking about how, the Suns, they're still trying to find their identity, and they don't really know what team they are. They finished off the season in the bubble great, going 8-0 in the bubble, and
they still didn't make the playoffs.
Didn't make the playoffs. So you kind of figured they were probably going to be one of those teams that was going to be a lot better this season. And obviously with the acquisition of Chris Paul, maybe they could take the next step.
And they can start proving their worth tonight. They're 4th place in the West right now, a half back of the Clippers. Mm-hmm. And they got a big showdown with the Lakers tonight. That should be a really good game tonight over on TNT, a 10 o'clock tip. But, yeah, the West, though, Kenny, is really interesting. It always seems to be year after year.
Oh, yeah.
It is cutthroat.
I can't really think of one year where it wasn't competitive.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Mavericks. They're 1 game above 500, and they're the 9th seed. That's how competitive and how good the West is compared to the East. It's really something else.
Yeah, the East is very top. I mean, I feel like the East has always been top-heavy. I mean, obviously because you had LeBron running that conference for the past couple of years now. Well, basically forever. I mean, with the Heat. Well, first the Cavs, then the Heat, then back to the Cavs. Now he's a Laker. But, I mean, when you look at it right now, the Jazz, they got a 3-game lead up on the Lakers. They got a 3.5-game lead up on the Clippers. The thing that I think everybody is concerned about is how the Lakers are going to fare without Anthony Davis, because he's going to be out for an extended period of time and be reevaluated in a couple weeks with the injury that he suffered. Is LeBron going to be able to carry this team until AD comes back? And one of the things that just really annoys me with LeBron sometimes is I feel like sometimes, listen, he's one of the clutchest players that we've ever seen, but I feel like sometimes he shies away from taking the last shot. I don't know if that's just me, because in the games that I don't know which games, I don't remember which game it was, but how are you letting Wesley Matthews and Alex Caruso, I think it was I guess it was the Wizards game or the Heat game, it was one of those games. How are you letting Caruso and Wesley Matthews take the last shot?
Yeah, that was the Heat game. Kenny, back a couple weekends ago on ABC Saturday night, and that was embarrassing. The fact that the Lakers were going through a stretch, too, where they had not been beating up on opponents. They took the Pistons and Thunder twice to overtime. They were still winning those games, but they cannot be doing that on a consistent basis because that's just not how it works. You can't play lower-tier teams all the way through overtime. That's just not going to cut it. And that was so frustrating. You're right on about this point here about LeBron shying away. I mean, Wesley Matthews and Alex Caruso.
I mean, I'm not saying he does it all the time.
Right,
but it's just,
right.
I don't know why sometimes in those situations he doesn't take the last shot.
Exactly. Yep.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, now they've won their last two games. They beat the Warriors 117-91. They beat the Trailblazers 102-93. The thing that you have to worry about is the game before the Blazers game. They got blown out by the Jazz 114-89. And right now the Jazz, they're in first place. They're 15-2 at home. Right now they're in the driver's seat to win the West as of right now. Now I think each team has 2 or 3 games left before the All-Star break, and then they pick it right back up next week. Some controversy over whether or not the NBA should or should not have the All-Star game. Even the players are saying they don't want to have an All-Star game. I don't really know what like whose decision it was to have the All-Star game or not. I don't want to put it all on Adam Silver, but I mean, if the players don't want to have an All-Star game, then why are we having an All-Star game? Doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, the Pro Bowl didn't happen. The All-Star game in baseball did not happen, and it's probably not going to happen this year. I mean, who knows? I mean, I could be wrong about that. Hockey, I don't think they're doing it either. So, I mean, what is the reason of having an All-Star game? I don't understand. Now, I believe they're doing everything in one night. Is that correct? They're doing they're doing the dunk contest and the skills competition and all that, and then they're doing the All-Star game. Which honestly, I think when everything goes back to normal, I think you do. I think you continue to do that. I think you put everything in one day. I understand, like, if it's a weekend, like, yeah, you got an event each day. But I feel like if you have it all for one day, I feel like you're going to get... I feel like that's going to be more beneficial. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Like, I understand why the NBA spreads it out over a whole weekend because it's meant to be like a party site. It really is. I mean, players relax that whole weekend while they, spend the time together. They go out. They do stuff. They can't do that this year in Atlanta. Of course not. And Adam Silver and the league won't let that happen. And Kenny, I'll tell you why, though, why the NBA did this. It's money. It has to be money, man. Because you think about all the money that not just the NBA, but the professional sports leagues in the U.S., around the world, Euro leagues, Chinese basketball leagues, whatever. I mean, anything. Everywhere it has lost money this past year because of this horrific pandemic. It's really terrible. But... yeah, I was mixed on it, too. I'm still not 100% about, why the NBA is doing it. Because obviously you had some of your star players, including LeBron, speaking publicly on this. And they just weren't pleased that the NBA made this decision. And, I mean, for good reason. It's understandable. So, we'll see what happens, though. I'm looking forward to watching it, though, this weekend. And like you said, everything in one night. I totally agree. The NBA should make it one night because they're going to have the skills contest and three-point contest starting at 6:30. The game starts at 8, and then they're going to have the dunk contest, which will be Anthony Simons, Obi Toppin, and...
Yep, Obi Toppin, baby.
I forget who the third player is. I don't know, but either way, Anthony Simons and Obi Toppin are the two of the three competitors. I can't think of the other one off the top of my head. But... yeah, I agree. I think this is going to be an interesting new format to have everything in one night. And all the action begins at 6:30 p.m. on TNT.
Yeah, I mean, it should be fun. I mean, yeah, it is definitely for money, and it's annoying because then you got people saying, well, you know, the league only cares about money and they don't care about player safety, and all that gets put into question. You know, in some aspects, I can understand why. You know, listen, people want to get back to work. People want to make some money. You know, they don't want to be at home because a lot of people are struggling with this whole pandemic, and it's very unfortunate. And hopefully with things starting to open back up across the country, for when it seems, hopefully everybody gets back to work. So, yes, from the money aspect, I understand that. It's just, you know, and listen, the NBA, they had the new All-Star game format last year, how the game was played with I don't remember what it was. It was just like there was like a point system each quarter. You scored a certain amount of points in a quarter, something like that.
Yeah. So what it basically was is that it was like a race to the end of every quarter, and I'm pretty sure it was whoever won the most quarters won the game. I don't know. It was something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly, it did add a little more excitement to the game.
Oh no, you know what it was in the fourth quarter. All right, so for the first through the third quarters, I'm pretty sure what they did is like a race to the end, like there was no clock, but I forget what it was. Like whoever. I don't know.
I remember there was no clock at one point.
But in the fourth quarter, though, what they call it is the elam ending. That's what they call it, the elam ending, and you race to a target score, and I forget how it goes, but
wasn't it like the first team to like 21 or something?
Yeah, in the quarter, it's something like that. Like they put out a target score, and the first team to reach it wins the game. Which honestly, that's a little bit of a better idea than just doing your standard.
Yeah, because you did see guys actually start playing defense.
Right, absolutely. And especially because there was charity money on the line. And, there was...
That is also true. That I forgot about that.
Yep.
But, yeah, I mean, like, you know, you're trying to reinvent All-Star Weekend with different things.
Right.
I mean, you know, like, you look at baseball with the home run derby. Instead of, 10 outs, there's a time limit. And I honestly, I think the time limit's good. I don't think there necessarily was anything wrong with 10 outs, you know, because, you know, it allows guys to take their time and regain themselves, and after, each swing, you know, like try to, like, you know, get themselves on the right page with whoever they got throwing the ball to them.
I think the new format, though, is awesome.
Yeah,
I love the new format.
I honestly thought when Judge won it the first time, I thought he was gonna do it every year, and I'm like, how is anybody gonna beat Judge if he does it every year? But then he said, you know, he's not gonna do it because it messed up his swing, and honestly, I'm fine with that. You know what? I'd rather he stay healthy and we win a championship than him winning home run derbies, because right now he has more home run derbies than he does World Series rings. And I'd rather have a World Series ring than a home run derby championship. Because you know what, honestly, watching him in the home run derby was a lot of fun that year. I mean, that was Stanton's last year as I almost said a Dolphin, as a Marlin, and Gary Sanchez beat him in the first round. I remember that was probably one of the better home run derbies. Actually, no, not 2 years ago. Now it was what was it? Alonso and Vlad Guerrero Jr., I believe. And Alonso won it. That was a great home run derby too. I mean, like, that matched Josh Hamilton's 28 home runs at Yankee Stadium in 2008. I mean, that was probably one of the better home run derbies that I've seen. Was that one from 2 years ago, and 2017 was pretty good. I think for the most part the home run derby is pretty good. I mean, obviously, you don't have Chris Berman doing it anymore. You have, like, you know, a lot of the Baseball Tonight guys doing it. ESPN's kind of taking a step back with some of their personalities that they have on the network, I would say. So that's kind of made it a little worse. But, with the NBA on TNT, I feel like it doesn't. You first of all, you have your stars actually play. Like when you got football, you don't see Tom Brady, you don't see Rodgers. I mean, you do see Brees, but none of the big guys really ever play in the Pro Bowl. I mean, you got Mitchell Trubisky playing in the Pro Bowl. You never really have any of the big name players in terms of quarterback, at least, playing in the Pro Bowl. That's why I think in terms of like star power, the NBA is the best because LeBron's there, KD, Harden, Giannis, everybody is there playing in the game for the most part. And I think in large part that does have to do with the fact that it's in the middle of the year as opposed to, I mean, baseball takes place in the middle of the year and Mike Trout's the best player in baseball and he's usually there. But in terms of popularity, the NFL and the NBA, I think, are superior to Major League Baseball. I mean, guys like us, like everybody, for the most part, people in baseball, they go to the All-Star game. But the NBA, in terms of popularity, is probably the most popular All-Star game.
Yeah, without a doubt, Kenny. And I was going to say, but before, because I know we're starting to wrap up the show here. But yeah, before we move on, save a little time for March Madness. Is that good?
Yeah. I know you.
I know we didn't discuss this off the air, folks. But yeah, the NBA All-Star Game, like you were saying though, it's definitely very popular. It's right up there with. I think the MLB is definitely a close second, if anything.
Because they actually play.
The Pro Bowl and the NHL All-Star Games are
stars actually play. But yeah. I mean,
the Pro Bowl and the NHL All-Star Game are just really off to the side, honestly.
But you know what? What I will say is I think the baseball All-Star Game is definitely not what it used to be.
No, it's not. You're right.
It's not. Like baseball. I don't know. I feel like baseball has just kind of declined in terms of interest. I think if it's not the Yankees, I'm not really that invested. I think the playoffs are different, and I think it's like that with every sport except for football. If it's not your team, and if it's not a playoff game, I don't really have any interest. And I think that's in large part because, other than football, every sport is played, if not every day, every other day. Baseball is played every day. Basketball and hockey are played every other day, every 2 days, whatever it is. Like football is once a week, and I think you have more invested in football, like fantasy and the spreads and all that. I think that also plays a large part in it. So, and baseball is a long season. I mean, 162 games. I mean, they're talking about shortening it. I mean,
they shouldn't. Why do they want to keep screwing with it?
We got to deal with the extra innings rule and all that again. It's just. It's whatever. You know what? As long as it's back, I don't really care. As long as it's not, you had to wait till July.
Right.
But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, hey, last thing I'll say about basketball is if you're a Knicks fan, you have to be encouraged of what they're doing. Odds are, right now they're losing to the Spurs. If they lose tonight, they're at 500. If you beat the Pistons, you go into the All-Star break over 500. And if you win tonight, you're definitely going to go into the All-Star break going over 500. So you definitely have to be encouraged. It's definitely exciting. I know people are, just complaining that Knicks fans are celebrating in the streets after they actually made it over 500 the other night. It's like, you know what? If you were a Knicks fan and you saw how pathetic this team has been over the last 5 or 6 years, then you'd understand their pain. Same thing with the Giants. I mean, the Giants were awful. They came very close to making the playoffs. That's why everybody was discouraged that they didn't make it. It's because of how pathetic they've been over the past couple of years.
Yeah, you're right. That's all there really is to say about that.
Yeah. But so I know with 5 minutes left, I know you wanted to talk about college basketball. We are coming very close to March Madness. We didn't get it last year. Now, I'm not as invested. I will openly say that I am not as invested and as knowledgeable of college basketball as my co-host here. I mean, I know a little bit as to what's going on right now. I know Gonzaga is unbelievable, and I know that if Quinnipiac does make the NCAA tournament as a 16 seed, odds are they may be playing Gonzaga in the first round, which probably would not go well.
Yeah.
It would definitely give me flashbacks of them opening up against Villanova a couple years ago, which, I mean...
that was embarrassing.
I mean, listen, you don't have to be a big college basketball fan to know that when you got, like, your school, which is not known for their basketball team, going up against a school that's in the tournament every year and has won it a couple times, it's not really going to go well. And who knows what's going to happen with Quinnipiac, I mean, in the MAC. I mean, it doesn't really look like anything is going to happen. They dropped 2 straight now to Marist now, I believe.
Yes, they dropped back-to-back games.
Yeah, and I'll be covering the game. Who are they playing on Thursdays?
St. Peter's.
Yeah, they're playing St. Peter's.
Here in Hamden.
So I'll be writing a recap for that. It'll be my first recap, so we'll see. We'll see if they can turn it around. Right now they're 8-11. Definitely going to have a lower seed when it comes to the MAC tournament. But listen, we're going to root like hell for them. Even if they have no shot, we are going to root like hell for them to the very end.
Absolutely.
You know, we didn't get a chance. Listen, I thought last year, you know, I was paying a little more attention to it. Went to a couple games. You know, maybe they could have won a game or two. But unfortunately, the pandemic had to ruin that. So you know what? Let's see what they do. Maybe they'll shock us. Maybe this will be the year they break through, because the women's team, a lot better than the men's team. So,
yes.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. But you know what? If I'm going to make a bracket, I'm going to be very invested in the games once they come around in a couple weeks. Not as much as my co-host, because he's going to be watching literally everything, like literally everything you could ever imagine.
Next week,
every conference.
Next week is Champ Week, as ESPN likes to coin it, which is when all the conference tournaments are. And I'll just say quickly here, as of right now, ESPN bracketologist Joe Lunardi. I'm also a part UConn fan. I still remember that 2014 title run. They also won in 2011 against Butler. 2 of the best years in the Husky organization. Joe Lunardi has bumped them up to a number 10 seed in his bracket predictions, which he releases on Tuesdays and Fridays. That's, of course, coming from the first 4 out, which is where they were last week. His number 1 and 2 seeds right now, Gonzaga, Michigan, Baylor, and Illinois in the 1 spots, and Ohio State, Alabama, Iowa, and West Virginia in the 2 spots. Now, Michigan is getting absolutely destroyed on their home court right now by Illinois. Illinois, of course, number 4, Michigan number 2. Illinois is up 71-47.
Oh, my God.
With under 4 minutes left in the second half. This is without Ayo Dosunmu, who is one of Illinois' best players. He's got 2 of their 4 triple-doubles in school history. And he's out of this game. Trent Frazier's been the main source of offense for them tonight, 22 points, 4 rebounds. So that could be a shakeup in the top seeds as we go forward throughout the week. Also, team to watch that I'm loving right now. This is pending if the NCAA allows them to get in. The Oklahoma State Cowboys are a special team right now. Joe Lunardi has them projected at a 4 seed. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They've beaten Texas Tech and now Oklahoma twice. So that's 3 ranked wins in the last 9 days for the Cowboys. They're a special team to watch. And Cade Cunningham is projected to go number 1 in next year's NBA draft. But, Champ Week starts a little bit earlier outside of the power conferences. And when we come back next week, the championships that will be decided, there are 31 this year, not 32 because the Ivy League, of course, did not hold a regular season, which includes Yale, Harvard, Penn, and other schools like that. But this weekend into early next week, the Ohio Valley Conference Championship starts it off. That'll be Saturday at 8 p.m. ESPN2. Sunday, you have the Big South at noon on ESPN, followed by the Atlantic Sun at 2 o'clock on ESPN. And also the Missouri Valley Championship game will be at 2 o'clock on CBS. And then Monday night, The SoCon at 7 o'clock on ESPN, which is also known as the Southern Conference. And then the Sun Belt at 7 o'clock on ESPN2. And when we're in the studio next Tuesday, the Colonial will be at 7 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. The Horizon League at 7 o'clock either on ESPN or ESPN2. The Northeast Conference, otherwise known as the NEC, that'll also be on ESPN or ESPN2. The Summit League will be followed by that at 9 o'clock on ESPN2. And then the West Coast Championship, which is Gonzaga's conference, that will be at 9 o'clock on ESPN. So we will likely see Gonzaga in a conference tournament championship game Tuesday. Otherwise, all the power conferences get underway next Tuesday or next Wednesday. Kenny, it is going to be a wild champ week leading up to the tournament. As John Rothstein likes to say all the time, this is effing March.
Yep, and we're really excited for it because a couple years ago, I don't know which game, it was like a Purdue-Cincinnati game that made me fall in love with March Madness. So the games are intense. They're a lot better than NBA basketball, I would say. And you know what? College, they're going 100 every single time. Not like in the pros where everything's just kind of slowed down. That's what makes it great. And I think we're definitely in for a very good March Madness tournament when we get up to that point. So with that, that is all the time that we have for tonight. I thank you for joining us. If you stayed with us for the 2 full hours, we will be back next Tuesday, same time, same place. Actually, next week is a self-care day, one of the 2 days off that the school decided to give us when they stripped us of our spring break. But I'm going to refrain from going any further with that. But anyways, yes, we will be back next week, same time, same place. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder, along with Ben Upson, saying have a good night, and we will see you next time.
It's March, baby.